We are back. The Eric and Tony Show, episode 42 with our special guest, Alex Parker. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really do appreciate it. Enjoyed watching you perform the last time you were here. You did the Petticash Studios Speakeasy Comedy Room.
Secret comedy room.
Secret comedy room. Not that much of a secret anymore. But you opened up the show and did a killer job. You know, rapping. You had a lot of your own music. It was all your own music, but your own beats and stuff, and you know, performed for everybody, and it was great. It was got the chills, you know, watching you. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know about this chills. Is cool.
Well, Eric's also a musician. Like,
no, we had a whole we had a good conversation actually. That's why I missed like the last half of the show.
Yeah, I know. I felt so bad.
We were standing right there just chopping it up, and that was funny. I was like, hey, we should probably do a podcast or something.
I went out to take a piss after there was like two comics after you had performed. Then I was like, all right, I gotta go take a piss. And then I ran into Alex and I was like, just shooting the shit with him. And then I was like, before I know it was like, everyone's like, all right, lights are on, the show's over. I was like, oh,
like
fuck.
People start filing out. And I was just like, oh man, like I thought I heard some laughs and whatnot. Missed everything.
Yeah.
It's a good time though. Good conversation, good show, everything.
I mean, you got me back. And
yeah, dude.
I was telling Tony earlier, it's like, oh yeah, let's be friends. Like friendship with me is very like, I'm terrible on the phone. I'm terrible. Like I always mean well.
Yeah.
I always mean well. My heart's always in the right place. But I have the purest form of ADHD. And so like things have to like hook me in and like feel right.
Right.
Otherwise I'll find myself scarce. It's pretty outside. If I didn't feel good, about this place, I would have just kept on the bus and seen where it took me. Like, it's very, I'm very like, oh, right. I'm gone.
Yeah.
But no, like you guys are super cool. Like I met Tony.
Yeah. How do you guys know each other?
Oh, it was a stellar show.
It was
Easter. It was Easter fucking Sunday.
Easter to Sunday.
You played a show on Easter Sunday.
Both of us, two fucking knuckleheads, were like, I'll bite. And
what
then,
better time to perform than Easter Sunday?
Oh, and then the location too was in some fucking hole in the wall down in South Central. Like it was a sketchy ass neighborhood.
Literally a block away from the first house that I've ever lived in.
No shit.
Really?
Yeah. So I was actually I was born out here, but I was raised in Atlanta.
Okay.
But
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, I think that was over. It was near like.
You're all calling his home neighborhood. It's like
it was the worst place I've ever been in my entire life. I was born there.
I would never ever go there.
People that live there are
terrible. Under no circumstance would I ever go into that neighborhood.
South Central I was not there. Fun. Like I don't remember who I was on the phone with. Oh, my ex. That was so weird. No, that could be on record. I was on the phone with my ex, and like the Uber was taking. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, this is where I used to live at. And I'm like, why the fuck am I here?
Can I put my childhood address here?
Look, I don't visit often because it's South Central. And like, yeah, gentrification is happening and the fucking stadium, you know, clean things up a lot. Nah. But I still hear things when I'm out there that sound like fireworks, but are a little bit too low to the ground.
Dude, for sure. I lived in South Central for like 5 years, like last 5 years and shit.
Oh shit, okay. What part?
Like Lemert Park, like Crenshaw and like 39th.
Okay.
Right where the post office is over there. Right where Nipsey Hussle's fucking like funeral procession ended. Right there. So, but yeah, man, there was like drive-bys down the street, like on Obama, right where Obama hits like 39th and shit. Like this neighbor like got his fucking like house lit up, and then they built a cinder block wall, and then that got lit up, and it's just like, ooh, okay. So like some stuff might have got pushed out, but it's still the same thing as like fucking Echo Park and like, you know, Silver Lake. Shit gets gentrified, but like a lot of the people that still claim those territories still claim those territories. You know,
people from Silver Lake love telling people that they're from Silver Lake.
Oh, for sure.
It's the craziest shit. I go to, there's a studio up there that I rent out for like 8-hour blocks at a time. I can just self-produce. And like when I go there, like the signage all around, like Silver Lake is proud of itself. Yeah, they plaster their shit everywhere to let you know that you're there. I've never been lost or not known where I was in Silver Lake. I can absolutely tell people. And then the people around, I never hear like people say the words so much. It's fucking odd. It's like a hive mind over there.
Yeah.
I went to the Target, and like I promise you, every person I pass by mentioned, oh, well, you know, this is Silver Lake, so blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with like people from New York where they're always like, they always tell you that they're from New York. Like the joke is like, you know how I know you're from New York is because like you told me in the first like fucking like 2 seconds of meeting you, like with no bearing or reason why to do it. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm from New York. Okay, well, how is that relevant to anything that we're talking about? You know,
it's like mention pizza one time and see it.
Yeah.
Find all the New Yorkers in the room because they go, oh, not out.
Yeah. It's
nothing worse than a Silver Lake vegan. Silver Lake, I'm a vegan. This fucking loop. Vegan Silver Lake, Silver Lake vegan.
I mean, like that's the thing. Like it's like the concentrated loop because being in Cali, you hear veganism all the time. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I eat faces.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't have the capacity to try to. It sounds like a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. It sounds like, oh, I could probably do that. But then like I'll see Arby's, we have the meats. And I'm like, I too could have the meats.
Yeah, Arby's is fire.
Arby's is the shit, man.
It's great.
Arby's gives you the shits, but like,
it does.
I'm very prone to bad decisions, and Arby's is one that I'll make over and over again. I don't care how much.
It's expensive as fuck though now, though, dude.
Is
like
it?
Arby's.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. I haven't been there in years, but like, there was a point in time. I'm from the era of like the 5 for $5 at Arby's. You can get 5 fucking beef and cheddars, right?
That's like 25 years ago.
No, it's not that far.
No, it really
back.
is though, like legit.
Yeah, I know.
I remember that. Like I like 5 for $5.
Dollar like if you get one Arby's sandwich for $5 now, it's ridiculous.
A cheddar melt. It's cheddar.
Arby's. That's not right,
bro. Fucking like McDonald's for a like McDoubles like $4.20.
Now that shit is wild. McDonald's cost the same. Like someone like compare like a meal from Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, and like they're not far apart. And I'm like, who the fuck does McDonald's think they are?
In-N-Out Burger is cheaper than McDonald's at this point, which is fucking wild, right?
It is, but then you think about the fries, and that kind of justifies it.
Like you could go to Denny's and pay the same amount of money that you would at McDonald's.
But Denny's is also super expensive. So there's like actual good diners that are local that are like competitively priced.
Oh, what's that one on La Cienega? Norms.
Yeah,
that place is still fucking the best.
Yeah,
you can get like a steak and eggs for like $6.
Back to the 60s. I don't know where they're getting their meat from or whatever the fuck, but
Norms is like Cheesecake Factory for diners. They have their menu is ridiculous, but they knock everything out of the park.
Yeah,
I love those places.
That's where I'd rather go as opposed to Denny's and shit.
Also, any diner named Jim's, Tom's, or Bob's.
Yeah,
there are many, especially in South Central Compton, and like. They look like they're related, but I don't think there's one overarching like Jim or Bob. I just think these local like franchisees are like, that works.
Yeah.
You know, usually some guy named Hector, but like Hector's like, Jim's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Jim is gonna sell.
And Jim does. And it's the most shittiest, have you shit your pants later in the day food. But in the moment, we're all only committed to the moment. It's the best fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like I love a good greasy spoon. Like I love trash food. Unabashedly, as evidenced by the adipose tissue. Good food too, but like it's a spectrum, and I like every end of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think fast food and like greasy food is everyone's like go to. Like at the end of the day, if you were like, okay, you want to have like a fancy meal or whatever, or like that, the difference isn't like that far of like. The want to have either of those. It's not like this fancy $300 meal versus like
that shit is lost on
your
me.
favorite items at insert fast food place. You're like, it's like you're not like because they're both like scratch the itch. It's a different itch, but they both like get the job done.
Nah, legit. Like
so, being that you're in like the culinary profession, right? Like, do you ever go to like a Mastro's or like a high end like restaurant, or you like do you like that kind of shit? Is it lost on you? Because I don't fuck with that shit.
Like, I don't know if it's like my grandma in me because she's a frugal lady.
Yeah.
That's the PC way to put it. But like for me, I'll go to like I'll splurge for like specific cuisines.
Yeah.
But I don't find myself doing or like experiences. Like I did a dining in the dark thing last year, and it was like $300 a plate. No, $150 a plate. It was $300 altogether because I took my girl, and that was worth it. And the food was good, but at the same time, it was for the experience because for me, I like that, and I made a point to accrue enough culinary knowledge to where I can make the things. Like fine dining for me is what I create.
Yeah.
Like I can salt base some shit or, whatever the fuck. Like, my favorite saying when it comes to creativity in the kitchen in particular is like, I learned all of the rules just to know there are none.
Yeah.
Like, and so I just go and fucking play. But like,
you also have the skill set to know what would complement things and what you're doing, not just like sabotaging your meal by adding ingredients and shit.
Exactly. Because like, I mean, it's all a game of balances. Like at work, and like my job is, again, real cheap tourist food. Like it's not super complex. Like the job I do is not hard. The only difficulty is volume. It's simple stuff, but like it's a tourist attraction, so there's a lot of it. Like we get ways, but it's not like, oh, this one dish took me 5 hours to make because I had to get the micro. No. But we have enough stuff that it's like fucking Taco Bell. You start mixing and matching and like playing with the menu. Like, we have fish and chips, so we have like fried fish that we can use. And so I'll get bored. We have quesadillas and stuff, and I make like wraps and things like that just to try to elevate what we have. And I'll call my coworkers in, like, hey, in front of the house, I always get a bartender, like, here, come take a bite of this. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. And so that's where I'll play around with things, and it's fun to like go somewhere that has such basic elements and try to make something elevated out of it, which is something I like to do in general with cooking. Like I never have a game plan. The only recipe that I've ever developed and like written down is for chocolate chip cookies. Like I'm a chef through and through, except when it comes to like pastries, because that's science. That's exact measurement. I don't do exact. I do feel. I do, and like Black culture, seasoning. It's like, how much do you add? They say season until the ancestors tell you to stop. And so I'm very big on that. Like it's got to feel right. I'm looking for balance. Like there was some lady, she's a chef, came out with something called salt, fat, acid, heat, which are like 4 defining tenets when it comes to like flavor profiles. And so I'm always looking for how to like balance that out. But with that, again, like I like doing that myself. Going to a fancy restaurant, the sticker doesn't justify the fact that like 3 bites in, I'm like, I can do this at home.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So I get lost there.
Yeah.
How does you being a chef, like, does that translate to you being an artist? Like, do you take some of the things and the principles that you have as a chef and kind of bring it into the studio when you're like making a new recipe or coming up with a new beat or a song or something like that? Do you take kind of like the same approach where you're like, there are no rules, there's like kind of play around with everything kind of a thing?
Well, yes, in the sense that everything I do. So what I love is to be a creative, and cooking for me is just another outlet. It's a facet of that. So like creativity is this great diamond or ruby or whatever jewel you like. I don't know why I picked. But whatever precious stone that we've assigned value to, like rap is a facet of that, or music, I should say, because again, even with that, like I don't just rap. Like I, do poetry, spoken word. I sing a little bit if I got enough auto-tune on me, like I create, I do photography. I used to be more into videography, but I need a better camera. Like for me, there's no bound or limit on it. Like if it's some kind of creative venture, if it's something to create, I'm down for it. And so I get the same excitement. And so with that, my base level approach to creativity is the same. And that also applies to food, where again, enough of the rules, there are no rules. I love having that about music. Like I don't have a driver's license. I have poetic license. I have artistic license, and I run that shit into the ground. I make up words. I add random suffixes to things to where they don't go. And the thing is, the fun part is doing it and it still translates to people. You do it and it still makes sense. And it's like, oh shit, okay. Now I feel like I'm tapped into something. Like, all right, if I take, with photography, I'm really big into like negative space. Where like, if I take a picture of myself, I'll put myself in like the bottom right corner, and like I like a big empty space because it compels the mind to do things. Or if I'm rapping, I love repetition. Like I love strategic repetition because it can sound so pointless if you're not paying attention, but like I'm very intentional about it. And so you know, I can say the same phrase 3 or 4 times, but there will be slight differences in each one to where it's like, no, I'm still saying something. You know, the beauty of language is like inflections.
Right.
It's just like, you know, I fuck with you. It's like, well, yeah, I said the same thing. You know, it's that shit. I love doing that with everything. That applies to food. Again, that applies to photography. Anything that I can create, like, give me a paintbrush. I haven't painted since I don't know how long, but like, there's few things I'll say no to, at least the first time out. Like, I'm down to try all of it. And so that childlike fucking sense of wonder is something that I take to food, that I take to anything. It's all like creativity drives me. If I'm not creating some shit, creating feelings, creating emotions, creating some kind of energy, that's when I feel like start to like wither.
Yeah.
But so sorry to answer the question. Yeah, yes, it does all apply. You'll soon learn about me is that I'm good to ramble on. I ain't even lit this joint yet. This is the cutest shit, by the way. Like, this is so teasy. You know, got a light?
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah, that's a cool thing I think about, you know, cooking or music or any kind of art form that you kind of are able to create anything or something from nothing. You get that opportunity to really like kind of just do something new in entirely new that maybe someone has never even thought of doing or has done before. And you can kind of like create this completely new thing that no one's ever experienced before. And that's like, I think the thing that attracts everyone to any kind of art form. It's like it's unique to your own experiences and your own thoughts.
A little joint hit you pretty hard. That cute joint's pretty.
that little joint is packing a punch.
Make sure when y'all do the edit, you run back where I was like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
It's so teensy.
I'm going to cut that shit so
He's just
good.
a little guy.
He's just a little guy.
It's adorable.
It's going to be a 60-second clip. You saying, this is so cute, and you just coughing for the other 40.
Please clip that. This humbled me. This felt like, y'all seen Men in Black?
Of course.
The noisy cricket?
Yeah. Yeah, the noisy
She just chirped at me. All right. Shout out to IPAs. Ooh, you're going to have to run like half what you said back because I started dying.
Oh, shit. It's closing in.
We killed him.
Listen, start seeing lights.
Killed him on the first fucking...
And that was his last podcast.
Basically, I'm saying it's like it's fun to create something from nothing, and whether it be, you know, cooking or music or stand up or anything, like you're creating it on your own, and that thing that makes you first and unique is it's because it's coming from your own perspectives. So those are all like, you know, like that's why it's not a surprise. Like, yeah, you like making stuff in the kitchen, like being creative, and the same thing. And then transitions over to music and other aspects of your life, I'm sure, are very similar to that, where you're like, all right, how can I make this my own? How can I make this my own experience?
Creating something from nothing is the coolest shit to me. And like the ultimate form of that is something that none of us in this room will ever experience, which to me is generating a life. Like, I
mean, I kind of made a kid. I mean,
yeah, you seeded life.
Yeah.
And that's still a trip to me. Like, my brother just had his first son, my younger brother, 3 years younger, just had his first
That's your
kid.
first nephew or niece or whatever?
My first actual one. I have like technical ones. Like, I have a cousin that was raised like a sister to me. And so her son is like a nephew. And then I have like, my god siblings have kids and things like that, but this is like my first like no asterisk. This is
plus it's your DNA reproducing and shit, which is a trip too, where it's just like, you know, seeing the fucking like seeing the features from sides of the family and stuff is a fucking trip, man. Like it's a
fucking trip in the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all kind of something from nothing. Like if you look back to like Big Bang and all that stuff, like there's like a theory of like there's that something came from nothing. Like there was like that there was nothing. Nothing wasn't a black space. It wasn't like quiet. It was less than that. So like we've all came into life coming from nothing and made something. And maybe that's inherent in our genes to like be creative, to make something out of nothing. Like because we all stem from that.
I like how you strung that together. I mean, you were like, oh, from nothing. And then I was like, oh, this plus that. Here goes my existential crisis. But I like the idea that the something from nothingness translates to our habits and our drives to like keep doing the thing, because that's what we're rooted in, is we came from nothing. And so it's like, oh, we are life from not at all.
Yeah.
You remember before you were born?
No.
To you?
Right.
Sometimes people do, and I'm like, I'll listen. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, right.
Most of us don't.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like, all right, well, if you ever want a preview of death, just think about before your life. And it's like,
should I got a fucking preview of death every night, man?
It's like, that's like people say, like, well, why aren't you scared of death? You're like, well, I was dead for, you know, how many billions of years before I came into existence, and I was fine. You know, it wasn't like, you know, I don't have any trauma from that. And then I was just bam here. So I trip out on like stuff like that, like existence of like, what is our life? What is the meaning of our life? Like, how do we even get here? Like all that kind of stuff, like the evolution of humans, the mind, all that stuff. And the universe being so vast, I was thinking about that all the time and just kind of trip out and be like, man, that's fucking so crazy. Like I was reading this stat of how many Earths will fit in our sun. How many Earths do you think fit in our sun?
I used to know this number. I don't anymore, but I know it's something ridiculous. Did you?
Throw a number out.
7.5.
7.5. Okay, I mean, who knows?
I think I'm overshooting it, but I'm gonna say 1 million.
It is 1 million.
Fuck. Okay.
You got it.
Say used to know. You still know.
I mean, I don't know. I was about to say I read my zoo books. This was not the zoo book. This was like whatever the other Discovery shit is. My mom wanted me to be smart so bad.
Well, she succeeded. That's fucking crazy, though, isn't it? Like a million fucking Earths fit in the sun. The thing that we see, and like, you know, like we see it all the time. Like every day, we're like, oh yeah, it's just the sun. But it's like a million of our planets.
Out, we're fucked. There's like the sun's such a volatile thing where it's the solar flares. If it fucking like, you know, ends up shitting out and becomes a fucking dead star, like we're dead too. There's just like, dude, when the sun is fucking blocked by clouds, it significantly changes the fucking temperature for like instantly. You know what I mean? Like that's insane how much we are tethered to that.
Well, the something from nothing thing is also kind of interesting because they say that like, so something came from nothing and the universe is expanding, right? So at some point, like everything is going to go out, like all the stars, everything. It'll just be like, there'll be no energy. So even if we figure out a way to like use solar and like spaceships and all this shit, like eventually there'll be no like energy left, right? Well, there's a theory that says like the whole Earth just kind of extracts and then like decompress, like it just like keeps going like in and out, like an accordion,
like
just like
breathing.
Yeah, like it just does. That's all it does. Like so, it like goes out and then comes back to nothing, and then something again, and then back to nothing. It just does that for eternity. But that the whole point of eternity is insane in itself. It doesn't even fucking like our brains can't even like wrap that around it, like that. Think something can go on forever. Like when you look at the night sky and go, that goes on forever. There's no wall. There's no like a fucking thing. Like as far as we know, that just goes on forever. Like forever. Like it's such an uncomprehendable.
Yeah, the thing is, like sometimes you start getting way too, you know, going down that rabbit hole and trying to figure that shit out. Because like we had many a stone nights watching fucking like all these crazy things on the History Channel and Discovery Channel and trying to like, you know, figure out the greater picture. Even like reading books like The Flower of Life and all that kind of stuff. And then you just kind of get to a point. It's like, you're not going to figure this out. You're just kind of like running in circles. And it's cool to like, you know, entertain that stuff. But like at some point in time, you just have to appreciate it is for what it is. You know what I mean?
I agree. But like, I feel that there's still, that's what makes like life exciting is like knowing that there is like an endless amount of possibilities that are out there. There is no like one set like standard for anything. And that like anything you can come up with in your mind could possibly exist.
You talking about a parallel dimension or
anything, like anything you could possibly think of could possibly like exist. There's just no proof that it doesn't. It's like the same thing with like religion. There's no proof of any of that shit like exists, but it's a possibility, you know. It's just a highly unlikely possibility, but I mean it can really go to any other thing. It's just like religions usually get like the respect of like, oh well,
yeah,
it is a higher priority than if I believe that there's another planet with a bunch of me's running around.
It's a testament to the power of tradition.
Yeah. So,
but there is some crazy shit though. Like, you know, there is like, and again too, I'm not like fucking. I don't really buy into organized religions and shit because I think it's kind of just a way to, you know, manipulate the herd. But like the flood. The flood thing seems like they've been kind of tracking that, and I'm not saying that makes fucking Noah's Ark a real thing, but like legit, I think there at some point in time there was a massive flood here. Like there was several ice ages and shit.
Yeah.
And like ice, you know, when it thaws out, you have a hell of a lot of water. I'm like, that's got to be crazy just to fucking see the whole world just fucking like you know flood out like that. Like, or
well, they say like if you take like all the world's water, it's like the size, I forget the size of it, but it's like the size of a globe, like over Manhattan. It would like cover just Manhattan, like all the world's water, which was like kind of crazy.
This is a
That's
YouTube
not
video.
right.
Huh?
I saw this in a YouTube video.
Like I saw this in a
like that doesn't make sense.
yeah. It that's what I said.
It seems like it's a very short, little bit of.
I know.
Too little water.
I know.
Or Manhattan's way bigger than I thought. Like.
Something's off.
Yeah,
I don't know.
One of these things.
I saw it on the internet.
Like,
the internet's got to be true.
As the world's water because like people are mostly
drinking water. Yeah.
Yeah, like the world's oceans and waters and lakes and shit like that.
Lakes and ponds and shit too.
Lakes and ponds, like all that.
That's kind of.
What is it?
You got a fact check there, Mark?
World's freshwater?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Oh, so salt water is excluded?
Yeah. Well, dude, even our fresh water is getting fucked up because I don't know if you saw like there was something in like NPR article about like the pH level of like the Great Lakes is going up from all the salting on the roads and shit. So like we're fucking up several different things, not just the fucking ozone and the fucking plastic in the oceans, but like our actual, you know, fresh drinking water has now been, you know, we're changing that to at some point in time, it won't be drinkable because of the fact that we are adding salt to it from trying to keep the ice off the roads.
See, and then they're like, Alex, why don't you have kids? And I'm just like, well, because then I have to like make a commitment to fixing this world and like.
I mean, I'm just looking at it like I got a partner to watch the world die with at this point.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I mean that's I'm like, well, I'm in it for the fucking collapse of everything. Because why the fuck not? I don't know. It's just gonna do whatever it does. My girlfriend hates when I say that because I'm always just like, oh, I'm always saying I'm ready for the big one, the San Andreas earthquake. Yeah. I'm like, I'm so geeked for that. Like, I want that to happen in the worst way. Yeah. And she's like, oh my god, X, Y, Z. I was like, yo, you want to preserve any of this? Like,
yeah, what's going on right now? This is great. Yeah,
what about this? Like, what about this? Do you want to say? You like the capitalism part of it? I'm like, you and me, we're black. You want to say, what do you want? Like, what part of this do you want to keep?
Well, like our generation too is kind of like the most fucked as far as like any other generation, as far as like having like a house and a car and a family and all that stuff. Like,
what is a house?
Exactly. Like if someone says they have a yard, I'm like, oh shit, you're rich. Like,
you Very.
Know, yeah, like you know, and it's like,
or an OnlyFans star.
Like if you live out here for sure, like you could still live in like other parts of the country and have a house and not be rich. But again, even that being said, it's still harder to obtain those things, even with just one job, one person working. You know, having a wife stay home or a husband stay home and watch the kids and live off of one income, it's an unobtainable thing. Like you can't do that anymore. Like the minimum wage didn't keep up with inflation in the last like 30 years.
It's just like the certain like main like, you know,
well, cost of living and the cost of what people are, the amount people are getting paid didn't like track the same. It was like people are getting paid the same and everything kept going up in prices, but everybody keeps getting paid the same. And then they're like, how come you guys can't afford a house?
That's like capitalism can't afford though, because like the,
well, right. That's what I'm saying. Like our generation was like the first, or not the first one, but maybe one of the first.
It's like our parents that were basically like their generation's like greedy as fuck. So all the hippies, when they turned like, you know, super money hungry and shit, like, so when Ford started making cars, he wanted to have cars that like his employees could buy, right? And like basically everyone have like the blue collar person be able to buy a car and shit. And now the cost of like a brand new car is the cost of a home, you know, when our parents were buying homes. There was a guy on a show that I was on last night. He's like, he was in his mid 60s, but he had this like thing, one of his jokes, he's talking about there used to be like a number they'd say like, if you earned what your age is, you're doing well. So if you're 22 and making 22 grand a year, you're doing pretty well. It's like, dude, if I was fucking making like
22 grand,
if I was making 41 grand a year, I'd be fucking probably, I don't know, like Uber. I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing, but like I'd be poor. I'd be living in my car and shit. Like, that's insane.
Yeah,
you can't make that little bit.
Out here, it's not getting me anywhere.
Exactly. No, dude.
Nowhere.
Is that for a quarter of the year or like the entire year? That's insane.
I'm like,
so you can buy a house
on
that
I'm
shit.
okay.
Right.
And I'm not loving it, but like. I'm good if I have no intention of traveling.
You'd be flourishing on like, 31 grand a year or whatever. That's insane.
That's wild. That's a wild.
You're doing well. It wasn't like, you're doing.
I think my parents' first house in Milwaukee was like 30 grand, they said, or 28 grand. And that, I mean, like you said, like a new car now is like 30, 40 grand, 50 grand, depending on what model. But like the cheapest car you can get is like around $27,000, brand new, so like
that's wild.
That doesn't track. Like that's not, that's the
it's
same
just the profit margins for everything. You know what I mean? Like that's like I can see the supply and demand for property in LA and shit, but like as far as like cost of vehicles and stuff, I'm like, I just don't see, I'm sorry. I just like, everything's plastic. It's fucking plastic. You're basically like just molding that stuff. It's like cars used to be steel. I have like a 67 Oldsmobile and that thing's like, you can actually see the screws and how it's like put together and shit. It's like a giant puzzle piece. You know what I mean? Like
these cars today are snapped together.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a license or no?
Oh, sorry. That was, I don't have a California license. Yes,
California license. Okay. Some people, like a lot of people will have on the like from New York or they use just public transit.
It does not make sense. I've only been in New York once and like it only took me going that one time to be like, oh yeah, why would I ever drive here?
Yeah.
Like it's to the point I didn't even like taking a lift there. I was like, no.
I mean, there's definitely some places like I have a vehicle, but I never drive it. So I'm like, I really don't need a license out here. Like everywhere I go is walking distance. And
yeah, how many times do you think you drive a year, dude? One hand?
Maybe 10 times, and that's being like generous.
Yeah, I stay driving, man. I'm constantly driving. It's a good thing I'm drinking this IP and smoking that joint, huh?
So it's gonna make a real smooth ride.
Nice chill ride.
Hopefully not a smooth transition, but
How do you feel about that? What is it? The train that they're building, the train track from LA to Vegas. What is it called? Bright Line. Yeah,
I'm down.
It's like a hyper train or something. It's like 230 miles an hour.
Maybe I'm a futurist. Like I'm so with expansion. Like yes, build more trains. Like do all the shit. Like look at us right now. We're in a room full of technology and we're chilling casually in it. Like I want that to continue to elevate. Like, the train is the fucking cool ass idea. We need more hyper trains going more places the same way that like I'm sorry, I don't know how much of a diversion this is. I'm so into self-driving cars. Holy fucking shit.
Talking to the right guy, my friend. I fucking love that shit too.
Like, I mean, it seems weird because I'm on a podcast that is made to be broadcast and I also rap, which is very in front of people, but I'm a deep introvert. Like, I am deeply introverted and what people call anxious avoidant. And so so for me, it's a perfect storm. I don't like to drive. Like I can, it's like washing dishes. Driving and fighting are like washing dishes. I can wash a dish very well. I can polish it. I can make it shine. But I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants to wash dishes? I don't like fighting. I don't drive. I can fight and I can drive. I don't want to do either. Ever. But I love being in cars.
Yeah.
And so like there's nothing like wanting to go for like a nighttime cruise or some shit like that. And like also like be free of the burden of like because the fun part isn't being activated the whole time. It's oh, look at the sights. Like I feel like a fucking toddler. Like I get why this puts people to sleep. This is soothing me. And then like taking Ubers, like yeah, you can chill in the back and you can like make it to where they do a whole loop or whatever. But like there's a risk that they want to talk and like what if I want to cut the radio up? Like the fucking the self-driving cars, Waymo, I think it's called. They had them.
Yeah, I've seen them around here though.
Like they're fucking great.
It's funny because there's like a little R2D2 on the top spinning around and shit like that. And I was with my son and I told him like, Anthony, no one's driving that car. He's like, someone's driving that. He didn't believe me. It was a disbelief. We pull up and he's like, Dada, no one's driving that car. I'm like, I told you, isn't that crazy, man? There's just cars driving themselves now. And like, I'm having this moment. It's like way over his head as far as like actual like,
Yeah.
interpretation and shit. But it was just kind of one of those moments. I'm like, that's fucking nuts. Like, this is the way the future is gonna go. And like, it's fine for me, but I actually love driving. That's like one of those things where I was asking you, just because like if you're kind of distasteful for it, have you ever like ridden a motorcycle or like drive a stick shift car or anything like that? Like that kind of tethers you to the vehicle?
Motorcycle, no. I mean, I like a Vespa. It's not a motorcycle, but it's heavy and awkward. But I have driven stick. I'm terrible at it, but I did learn at one point, so I'm sure it's like muscle memory. And I see what you mean by that. There's like a very like, there's an active synchronicity.
You're part of the machine at some point. Yeah, when you're like kind of doing the choke and the fucking clutch and shifting gears and like
thinking about it's kind of like real Mad Maxy, you know?
Yeah, but there's like again, when you're going through like when you're taking a vehicle and you're kind of going around and then you have to kind of keep it, you know, regulating as it goes. It's cool, and I understand it's a lot of work and shit like that, but that's part of the experience. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about horseback riding, which I think like it's akin to. Yeah, where it's like
absolutely.
It's something in
steel
us
horse,
that,
baby,
like,
on a steel horse.
Legit. Where it's like, no, dead ass. Like it feels good to like, and it's funny for all the ways that I don't love driving. I love horseback riding. It's so.
See, that terrifies me. I have like zero interest in horseback riding. I was on a horse one time. We were doing some kind of like hillside. It was in like Wyoming. My uncles, my cousins and shit. And I was on this horse that starts to kind of get a little fucking crazy. He's about to buck. And I'm like, oh, dude, please don't fucking Christopher Reeves me. This is like right when he fucking got paralyzed and shit. And like,
so Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, dude, that's one of my biggest fears. And that's like, you know, why I quit riding motorcycles. I got in a bad accident. Like, and I like got knocked out. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, all right, isolate the variables. If you don't want to be in a wheelchair, stop doing the things that can put you in a wheelchair. So like horseback riding, no interest in it. No interest in the fact that it also could end in some crazy ass shit like that.
Yeah.
And motorcycles, I love them, but not like, you know, the juice is not worth the squeeze with that kind of shit.
Gotcha.
In LA, I still rode for a while back in Wisconsin when I'd go back and visit. Like, and then even the funnier thing is there's no helmet law in Wisconsin. So none of my family that has bikes have helmets and shit because that's, you know, it's a pussy shit, right?
Just call people like with motorcycles in Wisconsin organ donors.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is
that's the way to ride.
Like
again,
farming territory.
Same thing now with like horseback. I don't know how much gear you wear, but like, if you ever experience
none.
like
literally none.
Yeah. Do you ride to the saddle or
cowboy hat?
Okay, saddle, yeah.
Okay.
Saddle,
but I appreciate the fact you don't wear like the hat and the fucking all that other.
I can't. I should. And it's one of those that like you make perfect sense. And it's just that my ego defies logic. And it's like, I don't want to be seen with that on.
Two parts of that. One, there's that, and there's also if you experience the no condom riding, right? You're just kind of like, I'm not gonna just like desensitize this. That's part of the appeal. Hearing the wind whiz through your ears as you're riding a motorcycle, and your only safety like is your sunglasses that are required. You need either like
2 inches of contact on the fucking road from your tires and shit.
Yeah. And just a t-shirt and shit is an entirely different experience than like one of my first friends out here used to ride. And he wore like fucking leathers and gloves and fucking full face mask. I'm like, you can't feel any of this. You're just like sweating in a fucking leather suit, riding a fucking death machine for no reason. You lost all the fun of this and shit. Unless you're trying to race and do wheelies and shit. But I never did that. I just like to actually kind of cruising on a motorcycle and shit. And learning to ride in like Wisconsin, there's plenty of roads to do that kind of stuff that aren't as crazy as like the streets of LA where you're gonna risk death every day.
That.
Have you ever tried the full self-driving? Going back to the full self-driving thing, you kind of said you're all about that.
Yes.
Have you been in a Tesla that has full self-driving?
Not the Tesla, the Waymo, the shit that you and your son.
Yeah.
So
what is that like? I've been in
fucking great. Like it's so good. I'm so excited about like
how much more is that than an Uber?
So I don't know because they were doing a tour through different areas of like LA through to Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And I went to an event, Smorgasburg, which is literally like a block away from where I stay every Sunday. They were there and they were giving out like free passes so you can take a week to like travel within a certain area. So like I had a week to just take it at any time. But mind you, I'm not the only one that's got this. And so sometimes there would be like congestion where like either they were too busy and you couldn't get a booking or it'd be like, all right, it's coming in 55 minutes. It's like, I bet and so I'm hoping that in this period where the tour is over and they're kind of recalibrating and everything that they're going to like add more cars. Like they need way more cars.
I think you need a Tesla. You
Look,
could have a Tesla and have your own car and let it drive you.
Does
that like right now.
I would do that shit. Like that's the only car that I've ever wanted. I've never been a cars guy. Like, I admire cars. I appreciate them for their beauties. Like you said, you got an Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, I recognize that, and I do like construction like that. But like, I don't check on cars. I don't go, ooh, I want an Oldsmobile, or I want. Yeah. That's a lie. I did want my grandfather's Cadillac, but it was more for sentimental value.
Right.
But like, I don't dream of Cadillacs, anything like that. And then they said Teslas came out, and I was like, intriguing. Yeah. No engine. No grill. Interesting. And then they were like, self-driving. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go out of frame. Like, say what? And now I'm like, oh, if I ever have any significant enough windfall, that's just gonna be like that's when it's an investment for me, because again, I want to be in a car. I like being in cars, but I want to do as little driving as humanly possible. So like, if Tesla can deliver the experience that I had with Waymo, because Waymo was fucking cool. Yeah. Waymo, you literally you can get in the back or the front. I got in the front because I'm like, again, I like sitting in the front seat, but not when I'm in an Uber, because I don't know you.
Did you sit in the driver's seat or like, the passenger seat?
Passenger.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is fine, because again, I like it there better.
No, but I did see somebody sitting in the driver's seat, and I was like, wait, I thought those things drove themselves. So like the first time I saw it,
they're not supposed to. That's, they were just violating.
Yeah. Well, I think they're kind of too still not believing the technology and paranoid, and just kind of like, just in case, I'll jump in.
That's great. It says something about me, because I completely surrendered. Yeah. The car pulled up, and I was just like, I'm going to get in the passenger
seat. You like low-key have a suicide wish. You're like, well, I was just trying the self-driving car.
I mean, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go fun. Like, I'm going to do something. Like, I'm not going to go fearful. I'm going to go like, all right, well, I was trying this out. I wanted to see. Like, I FaceTimed my mom while I was taking a ride on one, because I would literally book it. And like, you had from like the 6th Street Bridge that they just put up there to like right by like USC. Okay. And then from like the Broad to like just south of like Adams. Okay. So you had that whole like downtown. Yeah. And so I would book corners just so I can take a long ride, or I would book it to like go through certain spots. Like, I love going around where the Broad is. I love going through I live downtown. I still love driving through it, because I like looking up at the skyscrapers, all that. Yeah. And so, or I'd have it go through fucking Westlake MacArthur Park. Just because I'm like, all right, this is scenic. You can hook your music up, and it's like, all right, now I don't have to, like, I can play whatever the fuck I want, not just the things that I hope my Uber won't rate me lower for liking. Yeah. And then, there's also the, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, like, because I see people do it all the time, where like the Uber driver will see your picture and then kind of try to tailor the music to what they think you might like. There's so many times I've gotten in the car with someone who's clearly somebody's like late stage abuela, and she's playing ASAP Rocky, and I'm like, that's hilarious, ma'am. Thanks.
That's funny.
Thanks.
Yeah, actually, I feel like most Uber drivers just play their shit, whatever they're playing, like they complete.
They're trying to usually like sell me their mixtape or like their fucking track. They're like, hey, I'm a producer and a writer, and check this song out. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Have you been in the quiz show once?
Oh, what, the quiz shows?
The ones who do like they Uber drive, but they're also like doing a show.
I haven't been in that, but I've seen that one show. What is it? Cash Cab?
Yeah. That's what it's like. This dude had the fucking lights.
Shut up.
Hilarious.
Fucking lit. I don't like, maybe the episode was trash, because this happened like a month ago.
That's actually fucking smart though. That's pretty smart. Just to make a podcast or like a YouTube thing out of your Uber driving and do the fucking lights. And
it's kind of cool. And like the reason he wasn't even going to bring it up, but it was like, he asked me where I was going. I was like, oh, you're taking me to, I have a performance. Yeah. And so he was like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I rap. He was like, oh, snap. Would you be down to do something here for my show? And I was like, those words don't add up. We're in the car. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean here? Like, here or for the show? And he's like, no, both the things. Here for the show. Flips on the fucking switch. The lights start going crazy. He pulls out one of those karaoke microphones with a built-in speaker.
No way.
That's fucking smart, man.
It was great. I had a good ass time. Like, luckily,
5 stars.
No, literally, and I tipped. Like, And because he could pull up shit from like Spotify, like I have music on streaming, and so he pulled that shit up, and Apple Music's got a weird karaoke mode. So I was like rapping to my own shit without having it. Just all fucking worked out.
That's fucking hilarious.
But maybe it was trash because I haven't seen anything of this episode. But it was a fun experience.
Did he have like an Instagram or a YouTube you could look at?
Yeah. So again, the thing about me, great intentions. Oh, I bumped the mic. Great intentions, but like terrible execution when it comes to like following through. Like I have his Instagram and I did like send a message, but like once it fell, I'm like, ah, fuck. Like I'm really happy that fucking noisy cricket. I'm really happy that Tony keeps reaching. Damn it, that Tony keeps reaching out. Because again, you guys are cool, but like again, ADHD has me so out of sight, out of mind that I didn't remember this whole situation that I'm telling you about until just now. Like I don't think about it. I do so much shit, which is why I I want to do more podcasts because like more than anything, I just need record of the shit that I do.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Little diary, video diary.
Yeah. And like my girlfriend gets mad all the time because it's why didn't you tell me you like this thing? And I'm like, because I wasn't thinking about it at the time. And like, even if you go, hey, what are things you like? I'm going to forget most of them. I'm going to be like, I like corn.
Yeah.
The band and the food, baseball, and then half of it's gonna be a lie because I'm panicking because I hate baseball. Like it's just gonna be like But if we sit here and talk, what have you learned? I love being creative. I love self-driving cars. You know, I'm a bit of an anarchist.
Like be a passenger,
you know,
passenger princess.
Shit like yes, all the fucking time. Like let me sit in the side, look cool. Play some music, like I'll spit something, I'll write something, I'll flick up, you know, take a picture. Like I'll be good over here, but like I need my hands free.
Yeah.
Like
how much more work you think will get done when like full self-driving is like adapted by like the majority of the country? Like because right now it's like, you know, San Francisco, LA's got a little bit of it. Arizona, Tesla's like starting to roll it out a little bit. I think they did it in their last like earnings call. They had like a interview and they showcase what their app will kind of like look like. They give like little like screenshots of it, and they have the option of like you can call for the car, have the temperature set to whatever you want it, whatever song you want. You can have it already linked up and playing when it picks you up, all that kind of stuff.
Now that's a level.
Yeah, that I think it's going to get to that like sooner than later. I think definitely within the next 10 years, that will be just like a commonplace thing where like, why wouldn't it be like just how like Uber and Lyft kind of like happened? It feels like overnight. Like all of a sudden it's like no one drives anymore. It's just like I Uber. Like I'd rather have someone else pick me up in their car, put their miles on their car, and their gas.
You end up spending about the same.
Yeah,
if you play it smart
without any of the like, you know, risk of getting hit or fucking whatever. Like, oh, we get hit.
You have that time in the ride to like it's your office time, or like women put their makeup on and shit. It's like becomes this weird thing where like your Uber driver currently is like the elevator operator, which is like, right, you do all the work and get me where I'm going. I'm just gonna fucking take this time to fucking respond to emails or get ready for the day and shit.
It's like a personal assistant for hire kind of a thing.
Yeah,
it's
but once you take that away and it's just completely like autonomous car and shit, that's gonna be really crazy.
The theory is that like you'll eventually be able to like use your car to work while you work. So you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna open up my, you know, car for full service, for full self-driving to anybody, to only family and friends. Only you can like pick what category you want and how many people you want. Like you can have like a select group that can use it to like hail it, be like, oh, like my mom or my brother or my friends need a ride, so only allow access for them to Uber my car, so they'll go pick up my friend or my cousin, whatever. You know,
that I love.
It's like that's all the shit that like I heard of this on this conference call and I was like, man, that is like so fucking like smart, but it's like so obvious too. Like, yeah, why wouldn't it be like that? Like that seems like that would make perfect sense. Like be able to like kind of like monitor what you want to really do with your vehicle. And then you can have it go make money for you when you're not using it. Like be like, yeah, my car worked 8 hours, did like 20 Uber rides. I made like, you know, $500 or whatever. I don't know how much money people make doing Uber.
I have like one, and like, it seems like I'm playing devil's advocate here, but like my whole thing is, what if I'm like, imagine like today, let's walk it through. Like today, I took my self-driving car to Santa Monica so that I could work. And then when I got to work, I was like, you're also going to go to work. And so I sent my car off from my whole 5-hour shift today. And what I think what fucked me up is that if I got off work and I'm like, where's my car? And then you get a report that it's got hit or some shit. Like, oh, your car's jammed up here. It's got caught in an accident. I'm like, to that, it would have to be a day where like I couldn't, like,
or it only would accept rides that would be like but short enough to
like
get
even then, like, I mean, it being on the road makes it a liability. Like, it's a possibility. It's not a likelihood, but it's still like, you know, you can get hit pulling out your driveway.
What about this as a devil's advocate? What about this? So you go to, like, I'm like, all right, car, take me to work. It drops me off at work. I'm like, bye, car, go work. And then it comes back, and I'm like, my car made more money than I did.
I want
what
that.
the fuck?
I want
Man,
that.
what the fuck? I fucking robbed my job.
Like, I think there's also like a danger in the fact of like, you know, once you have a self-driving car and your boss is like, hey, why didn't you send that email? I was driving. Oh, really? In your self-driving car? Like, there's like, no, you're basically supposed to work from like the time you wake up to.
See, that's why you don't tell your employers what you like. I don't tell my employers shit.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know.
You just don't tell them you got a Tesla. You just be like, I got a fucking 67 Cutlass. That fucking,
I will not. If I ever get a car, they will still believe that I take the Metro to work every day. Why would I have them think otherwise?
Yeah.
What? And that's like, what benefit is that to me that they know this?
Just keep it on the top.
Like, everything is such a need to know. Employers get so invasive, and like, it's happened so many times where they're like, hey, well why is X, Y, and Z, or where did X, Y, and Z go, or something like that. I'm just like, I don't have to tell you this,
right?
And like, there's I don't even know how it comes about, but it's like, you ever seen those videos of like TikToks of like little kids, like when they like suddenly become conscious? And they're just like, oh shit, I'm alive right now.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why am I? I had that same epiphany. I'm like, why am I telling you things? Like,
yeah.
I don't owe you this.
For sure.
I like, maybe, and I keep saying, it's funny. The older I get and saying this, I realize I'll always be saying this, but like, becoming an adult is realizing like the true depth of your autonomy. Like, you can do whatever you want. And that means you also don't have to do certain shit.
Right.
And like, I have to like catch myself so many times because I'll be alone in my apartment that I pay for with my job, and I'll be like, oh, I can't do.
Yeah.
Who the fuck said that? Like, what? I look around like, no. Yes, I can. Because
does that ever like overwhelm you? Like thinking that too, like, I can do whatever I want. I'm an adult now, even though we don't like. I know I don't think of myself as an adult, even though I clearly am.
Well,
but like, and no, I'm sure a lot of other people watching this don't think of me as an adult either. But it's like, having that amount of options and things you can do, it's like kind of overwhelming. Like, oh wow, I could really do this, and then you're like, oh, I could do this, or I could go this way with my life, or I could go this way with my life, and you're like, well, you know, you kind of get like analysis paralysis of like all the options that are out there to like pick an adventure, choose your adventure kind of a thing.
There's rarely a day, especially when I'm off work, that I'm not overwhelmed by life to the point of stillness.
Yeah.
And I have to shake myself out of it. Y'all were both mentioning earlier when I was smoking that wild ass joint. It like, y'all sound like the stoner angel and devil on my shoulders. You can pick whichever's which. It's really just two different sides of where we were talking about being overwhelmed by this complexity of life and then having to remind yourself to stay present.
Yeah.
Where, like, was it a week and a half ago, something like that, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was with a homegirl. I hadn't seen her in a while. She had just had to put her dog down. She was going through it. We had a nice little talk at a coffee shop, and then she was dropping me off at home. We were going back up from Inglewood to downtown LA, and you know, she's still missing her dog. Like, and I'm sorry, I'm going to mention you by Marissa. I love you, and I'm sorry for your loss. But she was like, you know, I wonder where he is right now. And we had this big snowball conversation where it's like, oh, all of this energy has to count for something, and all of this energy has to mean X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yes, it feels like that. I feel this great wealth within me, but at the same time, we are on a rock hurtling through space. And I'm like, to the cosmos, we are atoms. I can't even fathom what atoms are, but I'm like, we're nothing. And I'm just like, the ego on us as a collective to be like, there's something more.
They're gonna hang my jersey in the rafters. That's what everyone thinks when they're like having. It's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. If there's like only a certain amount of energy in the entire universe, right, and it can't be created or destroyed, like reincarnation makes the most sense. I hope that's not the case. I don't want to come do this whole shit all over again.
Like, not as like a slug.
Not just like as anything. I mean,
then again, it'd be short lived. Like people are like, I don't want to come back as a worm. You're not gonna be a worm for long.
Yeah, if you get caught in the sun, like a tree in the Muir Woods would be the worst. You're just there fucking for like, I mean, it depends on your perspective.
I love being a tree. Are you kidding me?
Just chilling. But people
I already sound like when
people
I get up like that. Holy shit, yo, I'd be a tree in a fucking.
See, it's not all that bad.
I think about that shit too, though. Like if someone passes away, and I lost a dog recently too, so I understand what she's going through. Yeah. And like you start thinking about all these different kind of creative ways to like how you're still connected, and even when a human passes away or a dog passes away, even thinking about like just the like what you said, like the molecular like reality of like everything is energy and we're all together. And that's like the takeaway from it. Like everything is all one. We're all one. You know, you always hear that and like like people saying that we're all one. Like but we really are. Like we are all one.
Like the fucking like the Horton Hears a Hue thing, right? Yeah. So like pan back, right? So we're like a Jackson Pollock painting, wherever. You just basically keep panning back when you start seeing the bigger
piece
picture.
Of lint on the microphone is everything we've ever loved in existence.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're all part of one giant fucking atom. You know what I mean? When then like it just and what the fuck is that part of another big thing? And I don't know. At that point, again, just going back to being present and enjoying like the my toddler coming into consciousness and shit. And you're like, all right, now. So back to what you're saying. There's like that weird thing where it changes your perspective on things because you're just kind of. You're like no one taps you on the shoulder like, hey, you're an adult now, until you're on the other side or like of the parental thing, where it's just like same thing with like chaperoning my kids field trip and stuff. It's like I'm not like the one when I watch movies. I don't relate to the kid in the movie like Home Alone. I'm like, oh, those parents suck. There's like I'm on the other side of things and shit.
That's perspective. A scary realization. Watching movies.
Is. Yeah.
Like looking back, it's like, oh shit. I do. Imagine no kids. Everyone's uncle.
But now that you're like a new uncle with your own blood, do you find yourself relating to the uncles in the movies? But ooh, I don't want to be that kind of uncle.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm like, that's been happening, and I'm just like, oh shit. Now it all feels like I don't want to say practice for the real deal because like I love all my nieces and nephews, but it's just like, oh shit. It does feel different. Just in a sense, it's like, oh shit,
because you're being monitored by a little fucking person, and when the things that you do are going to influence them, and they're going to have like so my kid's uncle, my ex's brother, he's from Orange County. People from Orange County hate LA, right? So we're driving through, and he's like,
vice versa.
Yeah,
the feeling's mutual.
Yeah, exactly. Stay over there.
I've lived both places, and so it's funny that like I understand the love and the disdain for both.
Yeah.
And feel all of it.
But they're always just like, they kind of shit talk on how like dirty LA is. And it's like, yeah, it's dirty, but I like our grit. I take that over this weird fucking like cookie cutter,
Handmaid's Tale fucking Stepford Wives
like
fucking
to Weeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like a portal to fucking Trumpville and shit. But anywho, like he's in LA and he's like, oh, city bus, gross. And my kid goes, oh, city buses are gross. I'm like, oh man, you literally influenced my kid. And my kid still, I made him a fucking Lego city bus. He's like, city buses are gross. I'm like, no, they're not. Don't listen to Uncle Conrad. That's not like a fucking like shout out to Uncle Conrad. Like, but there's just like this thing where you're like,
I do have to say, I hate how uncles are portrayed in every film in any kind of medium. Uncles get the shittiest fucking it's like, hey, I'm the uncle, and it comes in, opens the door, and he's fucking like, drunk or fucking like
the man child.
Like some goofball. Like it's never like some
like
like
you're the uncle because you can't have kids.
Well, like it's never like some like oh like wow like he is like some like person that's giving them good information, some positive influence on their life. It's always like, oh, watch out for this guy. He's fucking. That's why he's single and doesn't have kids and uncle. Like all this shit. It's like no. It's like I always feel like man, that's not how uncles are. Like not how all uncles are. Yeah. I'm sure there are some like that.
It's a spectrum, like anything else. Like I mean, and that's the same thing with fathers. Like have gotten. I mean, parents, uncles, they all have like carved out niches, and it's just like why is it only this?
Yeah, but like the it's funny because the mom is always like, mom's day's never over. Like moms always do all the things. I can't read that.
They are gross. I work on buses, and they are gross.
All right, Mark just certified that buses are gross. I work on buses, they are gross.
A producer just.
But I didn't want to. I didn't want
buses
to
are gross.
pre-ruin my kids. Never mind. I told Anthony, I'm like, look, get on a bus and tell me if you think it's gross or not, and we'll take a bus ride some more time. I'm not taking it right now until they clean up this homeless problem and shit.
You're like, I'm not taking them out there until they clean up the buses, but
yeah. Well, I mean, but anyway,
no, it's crazy. I like live off Skid Row. It's
Skid
one of those
fucking nuts.
It is, and
it's
it's one of those
nuts,
things
like nuts. Like
I can only live there because I look the way I do, and am as large as I am. Like if my sister, who's like 5'1" and like 150 pounds soaking wet, lived where I did, and like I wouldn't sleep at night.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to sleep. Meanwhile, all I have to do is like not put on lotion in the morning and put on some shorts and put on some flip flops that don't match. Why not? Yeah. And then I can walk around like a camouflage. Yeah. No, dude, you want to talk about zombies? Like, no, Skid Row is wild. Anytime it rains and like it gets misty out, it's the fucking Walking Dead, because at all times they're always just kind of like walking around anyway.
Yeah.
But then you add the fucking fog and like the shadows thrown. It is the creepiest shit. I longboard a lot. I remember one time I used to work a night shift at this halfway house in Compton. That's some sentence. But like I would take my longboard on the way to the train to head down there, and like you go by and like they're not just passively doing whatever, because what did the unhoused do? They tend to ask for things. They tend to, hey, do you have something? And it's not just verbal. They want to get your attention. So what do?
That's hilarious.
Hey. And so can you imagine? It's fucking
zombie land.
Again, I was working graveyard shift, so it's fucking 11 in the evening, and I'm longboarding, looking like fucking Bart Simpson, and then just fucking foggy ass, shadowy ass figures going, hey. Hey, $1 young blood. Like, yo, it was.
That's hilarious.
And it's one of those things where, like, as it's happening, it's like my logic brain is like, I know all of the factors the way I just laid them out, so I know that it's not this. But my brain is also going, this looks like they'll eat you.
Sure. Yeah.
They're gonna eat you. You should skate faster.
Where is Skid Row? Like, is it by the Fashion District?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went down there. I was like, this has to be fucking Skid Row. I went down there to get some fabric for the truck bed the project that he and I were actually working on it. So fabric to get this thing made for the back of my truck. And I went down at noon.
I thought you said Trump project.
No, truck, not Trump.
Good. I was like,
Eric made a Trump comforter.
Yeah,
hand stitched.
I would have loved to see the editor. I just go, oh no.
You're like, you throw your beer at me and walk out.
Just not even that. No, nothing aggressive. Just like, okay. My phone is 50%.
Yeah, I gotta go here. I went down to Skid Row. Apparently, I had no idea, and it was like middle of the day, beautiful day out. I get down there, and like as I'm getting down to the Skid Row area, I'm like, oh, this looks like a little like more dangerous than like the normal homeless that's around here. And I'm like, okay, I turn the corner, and it's just like all tents, all zombie people. Everyone's walking around, and then I see like cops like walking around, like not going anywhere near that, like staying away from that area. And I'm like, the place I had to go was literally like in the middle of the area. Like I had to like go around burning cars and shit. Like, to get into the place. And I'm like, I get there and I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like I never felt like as a grown man adult, like more like scared of where I was because of everybody that was around me was so uncertain. Like it was like you see people yelling at each other and fucking getting in fights. There's a car on fire. There's fucking everything was just, it was like Mad Max, like a fucking, if the world like fucking like exploded or some shit. It was fucking crazy. And I was like, this is like so fucking nuts. And it's noon. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like this is third. It was like a third world. Yeah, it was like a third world inside of like LA. And I was like, oh, this is what like when people talk about Skid Row,
behind the curtain. You know what I mean? That's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, you don't really see it, but when you see it, it's like it's also very sad at the same time. You know, but it's very shocking to see and like be there and experience that. And even for the short time that I allowed myself to be there, I was like, wow, that is a place that made me feel a certain way that I'd never felt during the daytime ever, you know, like anywhere, like if I was walking down an alley at night, even in Hollywood, I'd be like, all right, you know, whatever, you know, it's not as scary of a feeling as being there.
You're in the epicenter and shit.
Yeah, it was really like
you're in Skid Row. How close are you to like the Cecil Hotel? It's like in the thick too.
A couple blocks. Like I can see it from I can see it if I go on the roof of my building, but it's not. I'm further east.
Okay.
I've heard of crazy shit there, but I'm not in that area like that. And because of the crazy shit I've heard, I don't really
for sure
try to.
No, like I
wander around over there. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, you know, sometimes like again, like I do have like a very deep morbid curiosity, but it's not like overt morbid. It's more like, all right, this thing might happen. I need to see it through. Like, or like if I hear about something, I know I don't want to see this, but I'm gonna look. Like it's that kind. It's not like, oh, I might die there. I'm going there. Not really.
There's like couches in the middle of the street that have been there for like long time.
Yeah.
And like no one like there's no one does any, like it's just there. And like it's just part of
it's somebody's living room, sir.
Right.
It's funny because people say that kind of shit. We're like, that's the kind of part of town that the cops didn't even go to. And it's like that literally is the part of town.
It's the part where like they're like
fabric for your truck.
Yeah, there's a couch, burning car on the road. Yeah, just don't go down that street. Like that's what the cops
you see the old
like,
lazy boy in the center of the road.
There.
Yeah, it's fucking it's so crazy. And it's like, where the fuck are my tax dollars going? That's what I thought too. I'm like, why the fuck is this not going to this street? These people? Like, help these fucking people out right now. Like, fucking, why am I paying fucking like crazy taxes out here if at least this one street doesn't get fixed? Like, focus on that first, and then
but
work your way.
Is like decked out like right now with all of the latest like artillery. So.
They're shooting down fucking $50,000 drones with $500,000. No, they're shooting down $50,000 drones with $500,000 missiles, like for the Israel, the dome that they have, or we're part of NATO. Curtain. Yeah, the Iron Dome or whatever. They're just like, yep, just throw them out. Yeah, we got like, you know, tons of them, like millions of dollars just shot down, like for a $50,000
again, inflated costs. I mean, I guarantee you the cost of materials on that's like $5, and it's just like,
I'm sure.
Well, it's same thing with the fucking Martin Shkreli, right? With the fucking the 7,000% increase on shit. Like those are government contracts sold to fucking people that are in politics. Right. And all those companies are like charging through the fucking, you know,
yeah, man.
Yeah, I had to get real specific about like I just learned recently there's a way to opt out of like funding the war with your tax dollars.
I saw that too.
How?
It's I'm not gonna.
But it can be a potential fucking like illegal thing too.
There's that's what I'm saying. It's a liability issue. Like I'll find the post. Look at
like the IRS. You're technically not really obligated to pay them either. So there's like this weird thing where like. You just gotta kind of fucking like, you know, it's the mob, dude. You gotta just fucking, if you want to like play in this society, you gotta take your lickings and just give your money. The best thing to do is try to offset it with like, you know, non-reimbursed business expenses when you do tax.
What's that? As people do the carbon neutral footprint where they like, or like keto people who eat like, you know, net zero carbs.
I feel like this is like the origin story of like us three like getting a piece of land and like living off that land and like zoning it off to where like we have our own, we're our own country, we're our own like part within a country.
Oh, declare
like,
ourselves sovereign.
I think that's how like people get to that. They're like, oh yeah, the whole system, all this shit is fucked. Like, okay, I'm just gonna isolate myself. I'm gonna buy a big plot of land and just live on that and like just don't come near me.
Yeah, I understand why like Kanye West went to like Wyoming and why these people just disappeared to like, I will. You know what people never talk about? Either of the Dakotas, North or South. I want to go to one of those and just. I feel like because no one talks about it.
That.
No, oh no.
I mean, stand out like a fucking sore thumb, dude, and you're not gonna be received well. It's beautiful countryside.
Is it?
If you need a liaison, I'll go with you. I've been there.
I was about to say, I need a buffer.
Yeah, one of my fucking best friends growing up since like 5th grade, we went from our bachelor trip, went to the UP in Michigan, right? So it's on top of Wisconsin. It's super fucking like you can't get only more north you can get is crossing like Lake Superior going to Canada. We go into this fucking little diner in Iron Mountain, Michigan, And the second walk in, he's like a 5'10" black dude, probably about 200 pounds.
Okay.
It is dead silent. Like the only thing you hear is the fan spinning off tilt, and it's like. Tick, 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 tick,
Oh, that's a fun
and I'm
time.
like, table for 5, please. Just
That's
like,
a fun
yeah,
time.
dude, it's fucking super weird. I'm like, it's so crazy that you have that weird X factor just because they're so far removed from like a city. It's just a bunch of fucking people that have probably bred really close in cousins and shit, judging by the teeth count and shit.
Family ties.
But like, yeah, man, I would just kind of dip your toes in there and then keep it moving. But like, I wouldn't.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe not the Dakotas. Maybe that's why I've only been curious and haven't been.
They're cool. Again,
I love insider information like this. Like, please tell me more.
Dude, even as just another white male, when I was driving back, so years ago, I moved out here in 2003, moved back to Wisconsin for about a year and some change. And on the drive back, we stopped in Wyoming, just outside of Jackson Hole. And we're staying at a motel, and the downstairs had like a pool table and shit. All right, fuck it. So I'm like a super tan dude from California. I had a 75 Oldsmobile Cutlass at the time, and I was wearing sandals. And I walk in there, and this guy comes over. He's like fucking 6'10", and he's like shakes my hand. He's like, "We can shake hands or we can fight." And I was like, "I'll take the first one." Like just this weird fucking tension and just don't like outsiders. And that's just like those weird communities. Some of them, not all of them, but like for the most part, are just kind of like real closed-minded.
Well, speaking of places that are friendly to visit, Alex,
Wisconsin.
This is the part of the podcast where we like to ask our guests what they have going on, where our possible viewers and followers can find you, things that you have going on in your life. Where can they find you, Alex?
All right, it's the plug section.
It's the plug section.
So primarily the thing that I have going on right now is the Act 2 open mic, which is at Universal Bar and Grill. That's every Wednesday. Sign up at 6:30. Show starts at 7:30. All genres, literally. Like I was speaking earlier about how like any creativity, like if somebody came and paid, like it's $10 for 10 minutes on stage. And so if somebody came and paid me $10 and got up on stage with like a portable hibachi grill and just made a meal and said, when I say anything is welcome, again, no, hate speech, no intolerance, shit like that, but that's most places. But it's like, yo, I want people to feel like they can do anything. Like, again, I want people to feel that feeling of autonomy where it's like, oh, I've told people, I'm like, you can, if you, again, like $10, 10 minutes, you can get up on stage and go.
Right. You say nothing.
For 10 minutes. That's your time, So that's the community that I'm building there. But I'll keep it a buck, and I can because this is a podcast and I don't care if they see it or not. This video is struggling, and I think it's a management thing. And it's one of those that need to be called out by name because it's a great spot, but it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, what is happening? Like, what are the pieces that don't add up to where we can't get asses and seats? And so I'm looking at different venues. I'm looking for something like, I want something similar to like the Blue Room that you guys have. Yeah. Like, I'm looking for like intimate, cozy. I don't want like I don't want fucking.
There's a lot of fucking outside noise at the place that shall not be named that you run your spot at and shit. Because
are we not naming it?
If you want to,
Universal Bar and Grill. Fuck no,
I already said something like that.
Oh god, no. Yeah. I kept the names private. I didn't tell people where I work. No, that's what I'm saying. Like they need the help. Yeah. Like I need them to be better. Like it's too nice of a spot, but there's a lot of outside noise, and I realize in doing this that it's like, okay, I want something that's more cozy. Like I loved Secret Room. Like that was cool.
Yeah, intimate space. You have everyone's attention.
It's intentional.
Right.
Having an open mic at a bar is cool, but like half the people aren't there for the open mic, blah, blah, blah. That's all it is. And so like I'm seeing it through, and like anyone who's listening, please come, because if I show up, I'm giving it 110%. And I'm going to keep doing my best to make it what it can be. And I would love for it to be great. But at the same time, I realize that I, as a host and as an entertainer, might work better in environments where I have more control and I can curate better. Mm-hmm. I want to curate vibes, and I need that. I need for when I stop speaking and there's supposed to be silence, that there's silence.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, as opposed to, you know, I'm talking here as someone's like knocking a pool ball into something. Yeah. They're like, oh my God. It's like,
yeah. You want attention.
I want to curate a moment. I want to curate like feelings and energy and things like that. Like I want the creative energy to flow, and it feels like in a bar setting, you have to fight for that. Like you have to like it has to be loud. I'm like, not everything that's being done needs to be loud. Like there's a lot of power in silence. There's a lot of power in the quiet. Like if I start doing like this, now we're all really listening in because it seems more serious and focused and all of that, but it's still an intensity and energy too. Like I want all of that. I want the full spectrum. And I feel like this spectrum that I'm operating in is limited. And so like, I want something like this. I just did a show this past Thursday at State Social House, right up the street. And I'm like, okay, that's also a nice little vibe. It's a bar. Yeah. It is a bar, but
satellite room upstairs though.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's separate. I need separation. I need something to where I have the floor and I can run the floor. Yeah. You know, that makes me the best host that I can be, because then again, like I said, I'm curating an experience. But right now, it is what it is. We are at Universal Bar and Grill every Wednesday. And
where can people find you on like Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff? Or
the question is, where is Alex Parker, which is also my Instagram handle.
There we go.
At where is Alex Parker. The answer to which right now is right here. That Twitter, I don't have Twitter. I'm sorry.
It's X now anyway.
Yeah, I don't have that either. I got a couple X's, but not that one. TikTok, no, because I feel like TikTok is beyond me, which doesn't sound right because I'm only 33, but like it's beyond me. It didn't catch. Then Instagram did Reels, which to me feels like TikTok is all in one place.
Right.
People keep telling me otherwise. So if I ever get a TikTok, we'll find out if I.
Do you have a show coming up at all?
No, but I'd like one. Right now, I mean, that's why I like people coming to the open mic, because like I perform every week just because I like to open up the show. Like my sound tech is an amazing person, also my best friend. They
thought we were his best friends.
No, you're my new friends.
Okay, new best friends.
Yeah.
New best friends. Yeah.
Can't quantify, but I like the fact that are you both wearing Chucks? Like
no, I don't have Chucks. I'm more.
You don't have Chucks? They look Chuckish. But it's okay. His shoes, you have enough credit for the both of you. You went on a shirt. I don't know why I'm picking you apart now. Either way.
So if you want to see Alex, you got to go to the Universal Bar and Grill.
Universal Bar and Grill. Thank you.
That's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
At what time?
6:30.
6:30.
Show starts at 7:30, but I encourage people to come at 6:30 to come sign up and also mingle. I'm really big on networking. And also like
hit them up on Instagram.
Comedians. I don't know why. Like, please, like, again, it's 10 minutes. And I know, like, a lot of comedians, like, I just want to do a tight 5. Like, do two 5s. But like, I feel like
I'm getting we only have 2 minutes of tape left or whatever.
Oh shit! No, sorry.
So. Any other places you got coming up? Just Universal Bar and Grill for right now, and anything else?
Follow me on Instagram to find out where else I am, but that's all that I have consistently right now.
Follow Alex on the gram, and then if you want to get more information, hit the Eric and Tony Show up, or hit up Alex directly on your Instagram page, which is
at Where Is Alex Parker.
At Where Is Alex Parker. Tony Klein, where can we find you?
At Tony Klein Comedian.
You can find me at Eric Rustler on Instagram. You can find this podcast, more importantly, on the Eric and Tony Show on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We post the full episode every Monday on YouTube, the full episode on Spotify every Monday as well. And throughout the week, we do 60-second clips every single day so you can watch and listen and follow along. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can go to the ericandtonyshow.com, purchase one of these beer mugs, and sit around, watch this show with us, and drink a beer with us. That is the episode for today. Thank you very much, Alex, for being on the podcast. We really appreciate you being here, man.
Thank y'all for letting me run my mouth at length and smoke deceptively strong joints. It's a fun time.
Yeah. Sweet. Cheers, brother. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mark.
Shout out to Petty Cash.
Petty Cash.